Okay, folks, happy Sunday. I'm going to go right back into the building that we were working on last night. And, yeah, finish that up. Got some similarities from this building to the other one with regards to the block section here, and also the floor here, almost like it's probably the same building or something similar to that. Mr. Ben, how was my trip? Better than the previous one. I took the shortest cruise I've ever taken, and it seemed like I was gone for a month. So I guess that's probably a good thing. Yeah, everything went well. Really no complaints. Try a new cruise line we'd never been on before, and it's probably the best thing that could have happened is we didn't like it any more, any less than a previous one we've been on. So that's good. It's not like, well, we're not going on any of the other ones. This has broken us. We can't do any other ones anymore. So that didn't happen. So that's a blessing. Yeah, everything went well. Didn't get sick. Didn't feel bad. Didn't have a headache a single day. Didn't get seasick, but that's never an issue for us. Although the first day out, the first full day out boat was pretty rocking. Lots of people were. Not me. I only white knuckle it when I'm flying. Although there was an interesting thing that happened. There was one morning that probably the most surprising thing about the whole thing is that I was able to have internet the whole time. I didn't pay for it. It was just everybody had internet. It was probably equivalent to like 3G. So you could like search Facebook, you could search things on eBay, you could buy things on eBay. It'd take a long time to pay for something, but it'd spin for a little while, but email worked. So I wasn't totally disconnected. The only thing that I always wanted to have internet for when I was on a cruise was that they have this thing, and they have it for planes, but they have a thing also for ships called Ship Tracker. There's many of them. And basically you can see a ship on the horizon and go, I wonder what that is. So you go into the app, look at the map, find yourself. It helps if you know where the hell you are, which is not really a problem for me. And then you can cross-reference and see that's tanker such and such. It's going from here to there, and it's interesting. I've always wanted to do something like that. Never had internet because you got to pay extra for it. I'm like, well, I'm not going to be doing any work from here, so there's no point in paying for the internet. But one of the things that happened is one of the mornings, I forget exactly which one, you could see about, and I'm estimating this, it was a clear day, you could see 5 to 10 miles or something like that out in the ocean. We basically ran between Cuba and Florida all the way to the Yucatan, and then came back through that same route. And one of the mornings, you could see about 10 miles, something like that. I wanted to go do something else. 15 minutes later, I look out the balcony, and I can't see 500 yards. So it was like, of all the naval games that I played, I've never seen, we never did anything where the visibility could change that drastically, but it could. And it was just, I don't know if it was a little squall, because there really wasn't any rain involved, but it was pretty dramatic that, one moment you could see, it was bright daylight too. You could see a long ways away, and the next moment you couldn't see. Somebody could be coming out of the fog to come ram you if you didn't have radar and stuff like that. kind of interesting. But other than that, really, they had no issues. I wasn't expecting any issues either. People who don't cruise, they always say, "Where did you go?" Cruising is for the facilities and stuff on a ship. The other places you go to, that's just kind of an afterthought. Especially if you've been to the Caribbean as many times as I have. It's like almost all the islands are all similar experiences. I don't. It's not that exotic a location considering where we live in Florida, but you go for the vessel and the stuff that's provided on it, the shows, etc. So, but no more. As a matter of fact, I got to go. I'm going to go into work today. We're not open today, thank goodness. I'm going to go in today and see what kind of a mess they've made, and do some repair before we hit the ground running tomorrow. I would be dreading it a lot more if it was a regular work day, but it's like, oh, it's a Sunday, yeah, I'll go in and knock that out. Yeah, but it felt like I was gone for not 5 days, that's for sure. My chum is on a cruise in Norwegian fjords at the moment. Well, that's one you'd want to go for the location for sure. But been to one Caribbean island, been to them all. I mean, they're all slightly different, but each cruise ship's a little different. Some you like this better, some you like that better. Um, there was things that this one was neat, and then there's some things that were not as good as other ones. So it basically just boils down to it's just another alternative. So this is the first adult cruise we've been on, which makes it sound like it's some kind of inappropriate type thing, but it just basically meant that there was nobody less than 18 years old on it, which basically meant everybody could drink. So the kids really enjoyed that. Not that they overindulged in that, but it was just one less thing you had to worry about. But it wasn't unlimited drinking, and I actually liked that better because it was easier to get a drink than I don't drink that much. I mean, they basically you sign up and they give you X amount of credit per cabin, and you can use that on buying merchandise. You can use that on adult beverages. You could use it on whatever it is. So like the last night we had like half of our credit left. Now, even if the drinks are relatively expensive, like I'm not having more than 4 a day. I mean, even at the most, I'm like, some people went over their credit. Like, well, you just slow down, pal. And I said they're all different. This is our first experience with Virgin Cruises. They do things a little bit different. Probably the thing that surprised me the most is I would have thought that it would have been more music based than it was, because there's a Virgin Airlines in Durban. Of course, it all started with Virgin Records, sir. So I figured it would be I thought it would have been more like a hard rock hotel kind of experience kind of thing. And it wasn't that. It wasn't that much different. And there's some things that they did that we liked better, and there were some things that they did that, however they designed the ship, they made it so that the pool deck, you couldn't get a breeze on it. So it was like literally the hottest part of the ship. So it's like, I don't want to be there. They had a couple decks. Usually the one all the way in the back is usually has hot tubs or a pool or something back there. There was nothing back there. So it was just like scaldingly hot. But I think the food was a little bit better than we've experienced the last couple of years. But I think the entertainment was actually a little less. They have one, what do you call it? Acrobatic type show that they normally have, and they had to cancel it after one showing, and then we had to do an emergency docking at another town, at another port that we weren't scheduled to go to. So we have a feeling, we don't have anything official, but that somebody on that show got injured, and they had to go drop them off, and because they canceled the rest of that show for the rest of the evening. But for the rest of the cruise. But the nice thing is I'd never been on a cruise that short. I've never been on a 5-day, and it was long enough. So that was kind of nice. That wasn't like I felt like I got shafted 2 days. Bust your cherry. Yeah, exactly. We were virgins. I've been on about a dozen now. I lose track. It's about a dozen or so. And it's actually the perfect. It was a perfect because it was different, but it wasn't so different, and I didn't like it any less. There's pros and cons to each one, so. Almost everybody on the ship was from the United States, which I thought that was kind of odd. That's almost never the case, but almost everybody is from the United States. Usually when there's a lot of people from the United States, they're from up north, and there was a lot of people not from up north. That is a reason. I did notice that people were happier, so maybe there weren't so many grumpy Yankees on there. I didn't even know 8 months ago there was even a Virgin Cruise Lines. I didn't know. They've only been around for a couple of years. So, but it's adults only. Well, our kids were on there. Well, mine's 19, but we had dinner together, and they pretty much just did whatever they wanted the rest of the day, and it worked out really well. So everybody that went together, we were all experienced cruisers, so it's not like we didn't have a clue. And it was interesting, the similarities between this is actually the smallest cruise ship I've ever been on. There's only 110,000 tons. Only. Got a message from somebody this morning, and this keeps happening, and I think I'm just going to ignore these things from now on. creates a lot of work for me. But somebody else says, hey, I just found your page. I haven't played DBA in 20 years or something like that. Hopefully you'll make more videos. And I'm like, I'm not even going to respond to it. It's happened so many times. Like, you're obviously not watching my my live feeds, which is fine, but there's lots of people. I know lots of people that. See, which one is it? Sandstone. I know lots of people that they'll play something for a year and then they'll move on to something else. They'll pay something for a year and then move on to something else. I played the same thing for 18 years. It's time to move on. You know. Did it for a heck of a lot longer than most people do different games, so. I was just going to give an opportunity for other people to make DBA videos. I don't know that anybody's actually jumped on that. There's only a couple hundred videos out there for it. Once you're done watching them, you probably forgot the first. After you've watched the 200th one, you probably forgot about the first one. So go watch them again. I'm actually surprised at how many people gamble. Like, I don't have a personality for it. And I don't have a problem having the gambling on the ship. Addicts have to go somewhere. But I've never gambled on a cruise ship, ever. It's just not anything that even interests me. Want to find the grumpiest people? They're up there at the gambling. They're at the casino. Thinking it's going to be their time, and you know what? It's not. It's not. Once again, it's not their time. You know, I've played games of chance for a lot longer than most of those people have been gambling. And I'm like, I don't even take any risks when I'm playing a war game and there's no money at stake. You're just fooling yourself. You're being fooled. And it's no fun. Okay. Now let me pull the other one and see how far up it went. Grab it. It's sitting over here. Oh yeah, we went quite a bit. One thing I didn't like about it, probably the first thing I noticed I didn't like about this cruise line, is the name tag of the people work on there don't show what country they're from. And I'm sorry, I think that's kind of cool. You know, I could surmise what it is, like, but it doesn't exactly say, you know, what country they're from. So, like, I don't know why they decided to do that. I've never seen that before. Oh, we're all on the same team. Okay, yeah, whatever. Keep your horse shit to yourself. And this is the next to the last building that we're going to do till we shift the trees. But it was kind of nice to be able to have some internet, just to communicate with each other, the other people on the cruise. I don't know if all the cruise lines have gone to that now. You know, it's not very fast, but it's fast enough. It's fast enough for a text or surfing on eBay, see if there's any good deals. I put so many things in my cart and I actually talked myself into buying one thing just because it was too inexpensive. So whenever the hell it gets here, we'll do an unboxing on that. But not anything related to this project that we're working on right now. Still 1/72nd scale, but nothing I need anytime soon. But sometimes, you know, when you're looking around at stuff, you're like, man, this is hard to find. And you realize they either didn't make a lot of these things or they're out of production or something like that. So you kind of keep an eye out for us. Well, whenever you see those items show up again, I jump on them. And it happened with those KVs, the Pegasus KV1 and KV2 set ended up being something that was extremely difficult to find. So when I did find them last time, I went ahead and I think I bought 2 sets of them. What it is, and I got 3 of them now or something like that. You know, there's models that are decades old and they still make them. And then there's stuff that came out relatively recently and they're like out of production. Like, what the hell, man? I don't get it. I think this has a little bit of white in it. Yeah, a little bit. What the hell you guys do for a week without me? No painting, or you had to do some alternative listening to something else? One of the parts I dislike the most about going on a cruise is having to drive down all the way down Miami, but this time I didn't mind it so much because I found a book on Audible that got me captivated. So that worked out. Of course, couldn't read any of it on the cruise. There's too many distracting noises. But when you're driving, assuming the traffic's not heavy, that's the time to partake in that. I wonder where the inspiration for the style of this building came from. Because there's almost this design here on the front of the building, the main door. It almost looks like a Tory Gate Asian type influence type thing. I'm sure that's not what it was intended to do, but I think it was just flat and like, what are we going to do here? I don't know, just put something there. Okay. Now the inside of this other building, say, do I want to do the floor? Well, I know what color the floor I'm going to do. Let's just go ahead and do the floor. Use the same tone that we got. The other one. watch battery went out on the cruise halfway. Well, about day one into the cruise, I had to spend a whole week or most of a week, without a functioning watch. That was annoying. Makes you realize how many times you actually look at your wrist to see what time it is. A lot. They keep going, there's no watch there. You're driving yourself crazy. I do have all the text turned on, don't I? Let's see. No. Yeah, I wasn't aware that there was a Virgin Cruise Line until less than a year ago. I think they've only been around 3 or 4 years or something like that. Yeah, more competition's good. More competition is good unless they're all in cahoots with each other. In which case it's not really competition then, is it? It's another industrial building. I'm not sure what exactly the purpose of, what the supposed purpose of this building is. But it's some kind of industrial type building. Let's see what color we painted the inside of the other one. Don't have to paint the same color, just kind of take everything into effect. I'll say, is this like the sandstone color? Yeah, it is. Okay, so we'll go a little warmer with this one. Maybe add a little bit of green or something to it. That's what we'll do. We'll add a little bit of green to it. We'll take the sandstone. What's this? English ivy green. All English ivy is this color. So let's create a base color here. Ooh, the green's very powerful. Okay. Ah, looks like my refrigerator that we used to have from the 1970s. Guacamole. Boy, don't need to see any more guacamole. We ate plenty of that in the last month. I'm surprised I didn't suffer from any unexpected explosions or anything as much guacamole as at the last month. Guacamole explosion. Boom, boom, ba. As always, the first color you're going to put on here always takes the longest to do. You got to cover just about everything with it. Other layers you put on here go a little quicker. And we're going to take this green color, we're just going to keep adding sandstone to it. We're just doing it kind of as an undertone. See if we can't finish the Pacific tonight. We've got an episode and a half to watch. And that'll be complete. Looks pretty green, but this is as green as it's going to be. The layers on top of it won't have any green on top of it. We're going to be mixing sandstone in it, just to kind of give it a little bit of a tint. Not make them all the same. At least that's what I think I'm going to do. Remains to be seen. Make sure we got a coating on every part of it. Now we're going to take the sandstone, add it here. glass and see what I've done. It looks very green. But like I said, that's as green as it's going to go. This is the other one. Okay, so I don't want to start adding white at this point. If I start adding white at this point, it's going to end up looking very like a lime green. So we're going to keep adding this sandstone. We'll add white, but we'll add white at the end. I gotta get some water. I'll be right back. Nice thing about these buildings, you can set them on their side and they seem to be pretty stable. So that's worked out pretty well. Would this qualify as that ASMR? AMSR, whatever the hell it is. The sounds of the scuffing dry brush. We'll go ahead and rinse this one. Let's grab another one and we'll use this is a really useful color, the sandstone. You have a hot night at your local club coming up on Tuesday. One thing that came up last week was, can a group about face, or must it do a full 180 pivot from one end? Well, I've only played hot a couple times, and I wasn't the expert person of hot, but I don't think that that's different from DBA. So I'd be surprised if you could do an about face. But that should be addressed in there. I've only played it a couple times. I really wish that the two games had been more similar instead of, as dissimilar as they are. I mean, it's And it's not the combat value. The combat value, you can change that all day long. But as far as the mechanics, because it's abstract. So the fact that it's abstract, at least, it makes it difficult for me to rationalize some things sometimes. Because I'm not an abstract thinker. But I'd be surprised if it lets you do an about face. You'd have to either move it by unit, by element. I'd put money on it, that's the case. Couldn't find it in the rules. Yeah. I don't know where the hell my hot rules are. I'm pretty sure I'll never play that again. I've only played it like twice, and I haven't played it in 10 years. Maybe even longer than that. It's one of those things that I played it because everybody was supplying everything for it. So. When in doubt, that's probably a safe thing to do. Play it as in DVA. I'm surprised that there aren't more similarities. It should be like damn near the same game, except for, special rules that go into like the troop types, like, gods and dragons and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I hadn't played it since 3.0 came out. Let's put it that way. 2.2 was what the standard was when I played hot. Didn't help me in the end. I rolled 1. My god dissipated god. And then your hero general got ganked by archers on a 6-1 combat roll. You do it in 15 millimeter, or you playing in 28s or something like that? I wish there was more variety of troop types. I'm sorry, of manufacturers in 15. There's trying to think who's that makes some pretty interesting ones. I want to say it's Peter Pig. Peter Pig makes some pretty interesting 15 millimeter fantasy guys. It's pretty fun, oddly, for a club that focuses on World War II. We have 5 or 6 people coming in for Hot Night. Alternative armies and irregular miniatures do good selection. 15 millimeter fantasy. Yeah, the regular ones that I've painted, they look better than they look on the website. I really think that if you're going to put pictures of your miniatures, just have them unpainted, because sometimes either the person that painted them didn't do a very good job of showing off what you could do with them. Maybe they're painted in a way that doesn't really appeal to you. I think showing them blank is a better way to do it. Give them some kind of a thin wash or something like that. And see, that's what I'm talking about. It's green, but it's not really green. So we're gonna go over it again, just so it's a different kind of industrial grade color. like that. Did you ask those 4 or 5 people, like, hey, why don't you guys play World War II? I don't know. I'm real picky about World War II stuff. There's most rules I wouldn't be interested in playing. I mean, about the only thing if I'm not playing this, the only thing that would interest me in World War II would be Chain of Command. Chain of Command's not bad, and it's not perfect, but it's got some interesting stuff in there. I'm just not a fan of this vehicle fires A-class penetration thing. Like, what the fuck is that? You know, you start lumping stuff together. You know, maybe it's not important for some people, but it is for me. So, one player is bringing on weird World War II German army with scientists, werewolves, and a flying saucer. They couldn't supply all their troops on the Eastern Front, but somehow they came up with flying saucers. Like I was mentioning last night, I bought this. I didn't know when I got this vehicle. I didn't read the fine description. This is actually missing a part of this building. There's a part that goes from here to here. It goes vertically, and I only know that because I looked at the Hobbles website, and so it's kind of like a T-piece. It sits on top of here, and there's a tiny little bit of a ledge there, and on this, and it adds like a little platform here for a mini third floor. Right, 1, 2, 3, yeah, third floor on there, and it didn't come included with that. Relatively easy to make if I decided to do that, and I probably am, but I'm not going to do that at this point because right now these buildings are only going to be used for like terrain at this point. And the scenario with these tanks, there's only people that are going into these buildings would be tank crews if they had to bail out or something like that. They're not really part of the victory conditions for the scenario, so it shouldn't be that useful. They're just for ambiance. But later, we can certainly add that to it. You won't like Achtung Panzer. I won't like most things, unfortunately. Level of abstraction is immense. Yeah, I don't. There's no way I could tolerate like damn battleships again or his World War II rules. I just don't. They're just things I don't want to play anymore. I don't want to play a game where you have to conform. I'm fine conforming, but at least, let me fight one time non-conform. But, all those kind of abstractisms just make my head hurt. You think about getting some HOOO scale tables and chairs? I don't think so at this point. I am going to buy scatter terrain for bricks. One of the guys was mentioning a couple weeks ago this company called Juwela. Come to find out that they're a German company and they will not sell directly, so I have to go through other folks. And they've got some scatter terrain they make some scatter terrain of like rubble and like bricks and stuff. And I think that's what I'm going to go in. I have it in my cart on eBay, and I just haven't pulled the trigger on it yet. I'm kind of keeping myself on a really short leash. I don't want to get something and then not do anything with it. But I'm gonna have to get scatter terrain of some sort because the rest of this, all these bricks just don't vaporize. But just something so that it looks like they're fitting into the terrain. But probably bricks. As far as furniture, once we get the brick situation, maybe just for atmosphere. But I don't want to get bogged down on too many of those things. I just figured this was an opportunity to use these buildings for scatter terrain, really for this first scenario, and then just go from there. Everything. Every time you do it, you add something to it. You can work on things that you already have. So be able to reuse these things for other purposes. I'm curious to see how the trees work out because I was kind of brainstorming last night on my show on the feed, and I kind of talked myself into this idea that about how to do the trees. I think I'm going to give that a shot because it might actually work. And I don't want to use the trees on bases. That's a no-no. And I've got these trees with these rare earth magnets, so I'm thinking, if I put like these washers, but for lack of a better word, they don't need to have a hole in the center. As a matter of fact, they'd probably be better without a hole in the center. And just slide them underneath where the cloth is. This is probably strong enough to grab it through the cloth. So then you could have these trees in places and not have to, and then you could use some scatter stuff to put on top of it to use the border of where the trees are. But I definitely don't want to use the stands because the stands they ruin the experience. They ruin the thing completely. In my opinion, they're distracting and I don't like them. I don't like them. So we will see. And I've got lots of these rare earth magnets for these trees. So we're planning on giving that a shot after we do this. I bet they'll work. I bet it'll work, depending on how thick the other piece is that I use. And I probably have something laying around here that, fuck it, let's test it. I knew I could talk myself into it. I need to find a use for this damn thing anyways. Although I don't know that I'm going to use this for gaming. Good old Tiny War Games UK shit show that happened. So yeah, so I'm thinking you could take something like this. What do I have that's metallic? It wouldn't be this thick, but first of all, I put this underneath here. Yeah. So then you don't have to look at those damn things. So I don't really want to cut things out of the metal because then I got to store that stuff. But if I have say one part, have a metal sheet that's maybe this the size of this, or maybe even individual washers, and know, okay, in this area there's going to be trees, and then I can plop them down underneath this. It should be able to work just fine. Steel and aluminum. What is this? Well, this is obviously a steel, though. Otherwise, it wouldn't have stuck. But I think it should work fine. That way, it's not an eyesore. But it doesn't need to have enough oomph to it. I'm thinking it needs to be at least 2 mil thick, so that it has enough magnetism to hold it in place. So we'll see. But this is a tree I've done nothing to it other than take the base off and put the magnet on it. We're still going to dry brush the bark a little bit and dry brush the leaves, and it actually they look pretty decent. So it'll be a work in progress. I just don't want to focus my attention, and I got 2 more buildings to do. I got this one to finish up, and I got one more, and then we'll go in that direction. But I'm looking forward to it. Okay, I'm going to take, let's see how these are next to each other. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of white. And pick out some stuff. Come on, you can do it. But I should be able to work on paper. On paper, I think that'll work just fine. Hopefully this isn't too much white. Not a lot, just somewhere to add some different stuff. Probably don't need any more than just that. Now let's compare them. There you go. There you go. Similar. Might not need to do a steel sheet. Don't have some A4. The magnetic sheets don't work. They don't have enough ass. They're not thick enough. They don't have enough resistance, ions, whatever. I'm not a science guy. It just needs to be thick enough to have enough. You know, if you take a magnetic base, okay, on a DBA stand, like one of those Litco ones, and you put it on that sheet metal, you know, so in other words, the thing that looks like a magnet, the thing that looks like a magnet that is, but it's actually steel impregnated or whatever it is. That's the first thing my DVA moving thing was with. I had this tackle box that was made of plastic with different cabinets that would come out, and I lined it in strips with that sheet metal. Because otherwise the metal thing, it just weighs too much, they're too expensive. I figured I'd just buy a sheet metal and put it where it is. So I've got this magnet on, and then the sheet metal on the plastic thing. They still allow, they don't grip very well. If you take that same magnet and put it on something that's metal, it has so much more resistance. And the thicker that metal thing, I would imagine up to a point, the thicker that metal thing is that you're attaching the magnet to, the more grippage it has. And it just mass or ions or whatever the fuck. I mean, I don't speak that language, but I'm just saying, you know, just kind of using, the thinner that piece of metal is, the less grabbage it's going to have. You can't change one side, okay? You can't change the side that has a magnet. That's what it is. So the only thing you could do is add the metal part. So I think something like 2 mil or something like that. Even washers, even big washers that should be relatively cheap to get. You don't have to look at them, you know. That would be underneath the surface, just so they could stand up. They don't have to be, you know, perfect. They just need to be able to stand up. Should be able to work just fine. And this is as small as they get on this size tree. The other trees should have even more grippage. This is the smallest trees that I have. All the trees that I have are bigger than this. So this is just kind of a test one that I drilled this thing out and put an epoxy magnet in there. And you do have to be careful which magnet side you use, because I'm pretty sure that if I flip this thing and try to put this on a metal thing, it bounce off. You know, you got to have the right resistance on it. But, you know, I think it'll work just fine. I mean, even if I just had, you know, go to the hardware store, see what the cheapest thing they have, because, you know, I may need an area that's woods like this. It's this size. Well, I don't need an entire metal sheet, because first of all, it's going to be really expensive, and it's also going to have flex in it. But if I get like even a shim like this, they can be square, they can be round. Round probably better, and just put them, you know, so they're in this area, and then you can put the trees back. I think that'll work just fine. Now the other thing is I do have felt to use as the tablecloth. That may end up being too thick, but if it's too thick, then I'll just go and buy a cheap ass bed sheet and airbrush it. You know, but I think that's probably the direction I'm going to go in, because I want an 8 foot by 8 foot play area. Even these Tiny War Games UK mats, they're just not big enough, and I don't want to put 2 of them next to each other because it looks like mats. And I certainly don't want to order from them again. God help me. You know, the guy's got a condition. I don't know what the condition is, but I don't want to deal with him again. That took way too long. That took way too long. It took like almost a year to resolve, and then I ended up not getting what I was, you know, thought I was getting. So the floor here. Let's get the woodness out. Territorial beige, I believe, is what we were using. At least a starting point for that. I'm going to tinker with it a little bit and come in and say, use some of this to darken it. But I've seen other people do stuff. I haven't seen anything that's just like, yeah, that's what I want to do when it comes to trees. I have stands that I've made of just tree. No, I don't want to see them. I don't want to see them damn stands. They detract from it completely. I don't know how many trees I have like that. Maybe 60. I have a lot. They've been sitting around on their lilies for years, not doing anything. Time to get up off your ass and make like a tree and get out of here. last thing I'm working on, the absolute last thing I'm working on is the board. Because the last thing I need to do is buy freaking tables, not do anything with it. But there's cheap shit at the hardware store. Super cheap stuff. I don't know what it is, but they make stuff and I should be able to make any of that work. Any kind of plates. I'll go to the hardware store with a piece of felt and a tree. And make sure they grab enough. I don't want to be buying stuff and not doing anything with it. Ah, two Panzer, you said, huh? That the new one? That the new Warlord Games one? Abstract shit all over the place. Fuck that. Like 28mm tanks should have more detail than the game I'm playing. Well, next we probably have to do the roof tiles here. We got all these lintels here as well. Let's do lintels next. Let's see how many people are. I'm gonna have to cut off at some point. Go to the salt mines. That's not going to be fun. But it's even worse if I don't go in today. Tomorrow will be hell day. Fix old stuff while new stuff's happening. Now, today we can just fix old stuff. Oh, we still got some of this stuff here. We don't need to be wasteful like that. We're gonna need our little dip of water, and we got some black still here. Okay, good. Dip of water. I had something really weird that happened to me on this trip that's never happened to me before. And kind of surprised me. And I wear contacts. And if you know anything about contacts, you know, if something happens in your eye, it's really hard to keep still. So if you get something, like for instance, you get something in your eye, it's really hard to stay still because it's just really uncomfortable. And it was the last day that we were at sea. I went to the private island that this place has. This cruise line has. The place is wonderful. It's in Bimini. And one of our favorite stops. After I'm there about 3 hours, I'd gone in the ocean. I went to the pool. Spent quite a bit of time in the pool where these people were playing with these big beach balls. And the beach balls probably, I don't know, 5 feet across, 6 feet across, something like that. They were really, really big. And we were throwing them at each other or, popping them at each other. It was a lot of fun. You couldn't do that in the United States. Everybody have people might get hurt. It's a beach ball, man. There's this one old guy in the middle of the pool. It's probably, I don't know, 100 people in the pool, maybe something like that. It's a big pool. And this one old guy saying, if you're in the pool, you're playing whether you want to or not. Basically saying, you're gonna get beat on the head or whatever. So, anyways, I was probably in the ocean for about an hour. It's probably in this other pool for about an hour and a half, something like that. I've been there 2.5, 3 hours, something like that. And all of a sudden, I'm starting to feel like I lost my contact, like I can't see. And I can squint, and sometimes I can make it out, and then it's blurry, and it gets, so basically, like, I must have gotten some water in between my contact at some point and my eye, and it was just completely blurry. I couldn't see shit. I couldn't see up close. I couldn't see. It was just really, really weird. And none of it hurt, which is really weird. Normally it would be like my eyes would be stinging. None of that. It was like I couldn't see clearly. I'd never had that happen before. And I had to find some water and rinse them out. And that got a little bit better. When I got back to the ship, I switched them out. And I just never had that happen before, ever. And normally if something's wrong with your eye, you can't see, you'll know because you'll feel in your eye. Your eyes can't deal with discomfort very well. You get something in your eye, that's all you got. You got some kind of a pain in your eye or something, or a sting, or, you can't keep your eye open. This was like no different. I just couldn't see. It was just really, really weird. I'd never had that happen before. I had it happen where, I'm like, I get chlorine behind there and, my eyes are stinging and I need to do something about it. But this is like no pain and just got blurry. Super, super blurry. Like I wouldn't have been able to drive. If I had to go out there, I wouldn't have been able to drive safely. Never experienced anything like that before. There's part of a lintel up here too. I think it is. We will paint it as we think it is. be stopping here pretty soon, probably when I'm done with these lentils here. Go ahead and deal with the stuff of the salt mines, and I'm sure we'll paint later this evening. I'm not sure how long I'm going to be in the office. 5-6 hours probably. Go in now. I should be done by 2. Thinking. I don't know. It's better not to have any expectations. It'll get done when I get done. When I get done. Let's add a little bit more of this. See how many stupid emails I have. Hundreds, no doubt. Hopefully most of them are junk mail. Okay, folks, that's where we're going to stop for this morning's session. And let's kind of show what its cousin building. It's kind of like this. Just the inside color is a little bit different. This is brown, that one's kind of greenish gray. That's where we'll stop for this evening, for this morning, and we'll catch you guys up on the next one.